from the Fox 5 studios, this is Silver State Sports Live.
The best time of year is upon us. We got the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. We got the NFL draft, baseball games daily, and the WNBA season is right around the corner. What a dream. We're discussing it all this afternoon. Welcome into Silver State Sports Live. I'm Mariah Janos. Clearly, I'm flying solo today. My counterpart, Mike Davis, he deserved a day off, so it's just you and me for the next 30 minutes. So let's get to it. We'll hit the ice first. The Vegas Golden Knights' quest for Lord Stanley's Cup begins Sunday with the opening series against the Utah Mammoth. You can see the regular season breakdown right here. The margin's pretty slim in almost every category. Where the Knights have a slight edge is special teams. We heard Tony Cordasco talking about it just yesterday. The guys in gold power play and penalty kill rank within the top 10 in the league. As for how these teams fared against each other in the regular season, the Golden Knights went 1-2-0 against the Mammoth in their 3 contests. The best of 7 series was set when the Golden Knights defeated the Seattle Kraken 4-1 on Wednesday to win the Pacific Division. They will have home ice advantage against the Mammoth, who will finish as the first wild card in the West. Here's John Tortorella after the last game.
Jimmy, first thoughts on Utah?
No.
Okay, so he's got no thoughts, but this is a guy that has a lot of thoughts. Tony Cordasco,
I always
the
have
Locked on
thoughts.
Golden Knights podcast. All right, so first of all, I know there were some line changes today. It was announced in Kelly McCrimmon's press conference, which is still ongoing, so we couldn't really get to that. But let's go over some of these lines here, Tony.
Yeah, so they're going to go real crafty, heavy on that top line, heavy in the sense that they're putting all of their ammo on the top line. Mitch Marner, this is, they were talking about him not being a team player in Toronto. He's played center this season. I don't know that he wants to play center. Now they move him over to the left wing on the top line with Jack Eichel alongside Mark Stone. So that is the top line. They're going to put a lot of ammo in their top 6. And particularly on the top line. That's an interesting move. And then the second line will be centered by Brett Howden. Howden is one of those guys that could play different positions, but let's see how he fares in the playoffs here. Dorofeev will be on the right wing, and Barbashev will be on the left side. And, of course, we have seen what Tortorella has done. He will move things around. He'll shift as needed and what have you. And then the third line is of a great concern to me because you have Tommy Hurdle playing the center position, but he hasn't scored in 20 games. And so I'm really concerned about whether or not he can keep up with the pace of this series and if he could put the puck into the net. And then Riley Smith is on the left side. Third line I think is going to be really important. Riley Smith should be paired against J.J. Peterka. But Peterka, I think we mentioned yesterday, is one of the faster skaters on this team. So they're going to have some really good matchups. I'm curious to see if this top line will be sticking, if VGK will stay with Marner on that left wing. But, man, what a team player, a guy. Oh, he's a cancer in the locker room. He's done everything and more that the Golden Knights have asked of him. He's given up a lot of his offense to play defense. Oh, he only scored 80 points, not over 100 this year. Well, that's because he's switching positions every single game, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really beefy top line that you just listed out there that's going to be rearranged. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how these all shake out as Game 1 gets underway. But they did have that extra day of rest and practice ahead of the playoffs as opposed to the Mammoth, who actually had to play the other night. Do you think that'll benefit them, especially as they adjust to these new lines that Torts is putting together?
Yeah, I think that definitely benefits VGK being here at home. They don't have to travel. Current odds, VGK minus 175, plus 150 on the take back for the Mammoth. I did like what I saw last night out of the Utah Mammoth. I have some friends up there, too, that were giving me some info, some inside information about the head coach, Andre Tourigny, and the fact that he used that game last night to more or less prepare for the Golden Knights. He wanted to see St. Louis last night, that was the opponent, how they would do on the rush and how his defense would respond, how they could activate how they could defend. And so to me, that was important that they played that game. They could care less about the score. St. Louis did not comply. They tried to mix it up and take some of the players out of it for them. And we know that Utah definitely needed the rest because they have so many players that are nicked and injured. And we'll have to see if they all are playing in this upcoming first game of the series. I think Dylan Gunther was out last night, and hopefully that was just to give him some rest for the Mammoth because he's their leading goal scorer with 40 on the season. Sean Dursey, the defenseman, he was out again last night. They're going to need as much as they possibly can to take on the Golden Knights. But again, I just don't think this will be an easy series like a lot of people might be saying. I still think it goes 6. I went back and forth, and I'm still coming up with the Mammoth. Don't throw things. No, tomatoes. Jeez. Yeah, I'm still coming up with the Mammoth. So, and that's good. The VGK fans are probably happy because if I pick I can't win. If I pick the Golden Knights, they're going to be mad at me and they're going to say that I jinxed them. So
right.
That's good.
No,
I'm going to stick with.
I'll
stick with Utah.
It's a lose-lose situation. This is what happens when we're in the media. You get it right, you look like a genius. You get it wrong, you're the one to blame. You are the sole reason for the demise of the team. But let's talk about this hot stretch that the Knights were on to close out the regular season. I know you like to put a little asterisk next to it because they were playing bottom feeder teams. The strength of schedule pretty weak there. But was there any player that really stood out to you that you think John Tortorella has unlocked as we enter the postseason here?
Well, when he first got here, he unlocked Mitch Marner, and he gave him the ability to skate freely. And then he unlocked, of course, Carter Hart, the goaltender. That's been important because he got him into his rhythm, and now he's playing really well. And of late, they're the NHL Players Association Player of the Week, Jack Eichel. Eichel's been outstanding the last few games. And I call him Jackie Pockets because he was, I don't know, selling some pizza pockets or something. So I call him Jackie Pockets. And I think Jackie Pockets is going to be a key, one of the X factors, if you will, for the Golden Knights if they're going to be successful. And Mitch Marner's going to want to get the monkey off of his back. He wants to make it past the first round. This is important for him. And so I think there's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves. And I think that that's going to help this team, the Golden Knights, here in the playoffs and in the first round.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see if Jackie Pockets can pick some pockets here in the first round. Tony, thank you so much. I appreciate you for holding it down with me here.
Yeah, I'm going to the beer park today. Got the wrestling guys there.
I can't
Devon
wait
and
for
Maven
that.
From 5 to 8. See you there.
Yes,
Take
head
care.
to the beer park. Go check out Tony. Tony, thank you so much. All right, still to come on Silver State Sports Live, the countdown to the NFL draft is on. We got a pretty good idea of what the Raiders are doing with that top pick, but what happens after that? Levi Edwards is joining me to discuss next.
This week on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. Your Triple SEN lineup is sponsored by AAA Roadside Assistance. Visit AAA today.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
The countdown to the NFL draft is on. Thursday, April 23rd can't come soon enough. The Raiders in possession of that coveted first overall pick. And joining me now to answer all of our draft questions is Levi Edwards, digital reporter for the Raiders. All right, let's start with prep for the draft. The Raiders have taken to social media, posting their war room pictures. They're gearing up. They're certainly excited holding that first round pick. But what are the vibes overall around Raiders headquarters, especially with John Spytek entering his second draft with the Raiders?
Well, I think everyone is just really excited, not just because of the fact that the Raiders have the #1 pick, but everything just seems like it's falling in place. John Spytek, in his second year, feels like he's really finally got his footing on the locker room, got his footing on the front office, and they're making logical decisions. I think the reason why so many people are excited for this draft is because they've done so many things already so well this offseason with free agent signings and trades and things of that nature, kind of making the most of their cap space. So I think more than anything, along with the draft, I think that's why Raider Nation is so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's all but guaranteed that first overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, going first overall. What are your impressions of him? Do you think he's a good fit for this organization?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a great fit for any organization, and I think a lot of people look at previous quarterback classes and they try to compare and contrast him against other quarterbacks of different years. But the fact of the matter is he played really well this season. He showed that he was the best quarterback to be taken off the board this year, and the Raiders need a quarterback. So everything matches up. I think he played extremely well at Indiana. He came up big in clutch situations, and this is really the Raiders' first opportunity to draft a franchise quarterback since they took Derek Carr in the second round over 10 years ago. So I think this is a great fit, you know, where the team need matches best player available, and I don't expect anything else to happen but Fernando Mendoza go #1 this Thursday.
All right, now moving off of that first overall pick, who do you see the Raiders going for in that second and third round there? They've got a lot of needs that they need to fulfill here, so there's certainly options.
Definitely a lot of options, and that's something that I've been trying to fight back and forth on because there's so many needs. They can go corner, they can go receiver, they can go D-tackle in day 2 of the draft. Really, any of those positions I feel like they could be able to hit on. I think there's a lot of really good receivers, a really deep receiver class. You have guys like Jeremy Bernard, who's a Vegas guy who went to Alabama. You even have Denzel Boston if he falls. Same thing with defensive tackle. A lot of good defensive tackles around that position, like Caden McDonald or even Christian Miller from Georgia. So I really like those 2 position groups as well as corner with Colton Hood. There's a lot of really good depth at those 3 positions, and I think the Raiders will go there at round 2 and round 3.
Now, I'm wondering, you kind of touched on it a little bit before about how it seems like the Raiders are finally getting it right this year in terms of their front office, the moves that they've made this far. There's a lot of confidence instilled in them heading into this draft and this upcoming season. Is that a feeling felt around headquarters as you're walking through? Is there a sense of optimism in the air, or am I just making this up?
Definitely cautious optimism. I
Yeah.
think that's the best way to put it. I've been covering this team for 6 years, and this is kind of the first time that I've seen very openly logical decisions being made where you don't kind of like scratch your head or you kind of wonder, okay, is this going to work out a certain way? Like everything that they've done so far seems like, okay, this is the right thing to do. So I think a lot of fans, a lot of people around the building are just kind of like holding their breath because everything is just going so smooth. It just kind of feels a bit unusual for things to be going this smooth, especially this early on in the offseason. So I would definitely say cautiously optimistic is a good way to put it, but it's better than the opposite. It's better than being concerned. It's better than just being cautious. So you got to take it for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, I know it may be old news at this point, but this offseason started off a little rocky, or at least free agency did, when it came to the Max Crosby trade. He's obviously back in the fold and acting like it's all good. He's happy to be where he's at. What kind of energy are you sensing now that everything has kind of died down and everyone's back to business?
I think it is in a weird situation. It's a win-win situation for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know that sounds weird to say, but you have to look at the 2 results of what would have happened. If the trade would have went through, the Raiders have 2 first-round picks, and they would have been able to use those very wisely to continue rebuilding their team. The trade doesn't go through. Guess what? You still have a 5-time Pro Bowl edge rusher who is the anchor of your defense, the face of your franchise that you have coming back, who's not even turned 29 yet. Still, and if anything, this is going to continue to give him more passion, more purpose to play as hard as he already does. So it really is a win-win situation where, and another thing you have to take into mention is the Raiders' defense is a lot better now than they were when that trade went through with Max Crosby. So he has a lot of pieces to kind of like go around him that he didn't have before we thought he was going to go to Baltimore. So that could even make his productivity even higher than even before the trade happened.
Now, I want to circle back to Fernando Mendoza really quickly. Obviously, the Raiders also just signed Kirk Cousins. What a great veteran add there. Camp should be super fun watching the competition there in the quarterback room. I know that the Raiders have been vocal about preferring a veteran to start while a rookie kind of sits back, watches. What do you think Mendoza, should he be selected, What do you think he would need to show in order for him to start week 1?
He just has to flat out beat Kirk Cousins. And I think something that was really interesting that John Spytek said earlier this week is, this is a meritocracy in the sense that the best man will play. I don't know if I pronounced that word right. I'm pretty sure I got it.
Meritocracy?
Meritocracy. There we go. Yeah. Journalists that can't spell or type.
It's okay. Me neither. That's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right.
But it's fine. The best man will win. And I think Fernando, if he just comes out and he flats out beat Kirk Cousins and he's the better quarterback, if he is drafted, of course,
right,
then that will be the choice. But at the end of the day, I'm not really pressed for him to have to start week 1. And that's the whole purpose of signing Kirk Cousins, to take pressure off of a young quarterback that you expect to take these steps as to being your franchise guy. So at the end of the day, it's a great signing to be able to get a young quarterback ready, or any young quarterback ready. And if Fernando's ready week 1, then, all power to him. Kirk Cousins will be behind him, supporting him, making sure that he's ready, and vice versa.
Absolutely. All right, Levi, thank you so much. Great stuff there. We always appreciate having you here in the studios. All right, the Raiders are taking over Chaos Nightclub at the Palms for the first round of the NFL Draft. So Silver State Sports Live is joining the party. We will be doing a little pre-draft show on location at the club Thursday, 2 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Coming up, Mother Nature was not kind to the Athletics yesterday. We're going over the split series against the Rangers. That's next.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
All right, so growing up in the Northeast, I always felt like there was no worse weather condition than sleet. It's cold, it's wet, it's gross. But then I moved out west and I realized there is in fact one thing more frustrating than the rain-snow combo, and that is wind. It's inconvenient, it's infuriating. Don't get me started on what it does to my hair. And sometimes it can turn what should be a routine fly ball into a home run. Just ask the Athletics, whose chance of taking the series against the Rangers quite literally blew away last night. So this is what I was talking about. Tied at 3 in the top of the 7th, Josh Jung gets a hold of Scott Barlow's four-seamer. That thing gets some serious hang time, and with a little help from Mother Nature and the short right field porch, the Rangers get in front. But you know what? At least there was some consistency with the win. Bottom of the 8th, bases loaded. Nick Kurtz at the plate. It's popped up to shallow left, and it drops in to put the A's up 1. So the green and gold benefit from the temperamental weather there. Now 3 outs away from taking the series, the A's turn to Justin Sterner for the save. Not a great choice. Rangers scored 4 runs. The equalizing run came on a throwing error by Sterner after fielding a bunt. 9-6, Texas was the final score, splitting the 4-game series. Here's Mark Kotze.
Not a typical outing from Justin. He's been throwing the ball pretty well. He's a guy that obviously we leaned on a lot last season. He had a lot of success in the second half, and we were confident in his matchups there to go out and get us a save. Obviously today was a tough day. The elements were tough. You saw it on both sides of the game with a ball in left field that ended up getting misplayed, and a homer to right that caught the jet stream. So probably one of the more difficult games that I've been a part of in terms of the elements.
That dang jet stream. All right, the A's and Rangers are now tied for first in the AL West. The memory of a goldfish is needed after this one, as the Athletics are back at it tonight to kick off a fresh 3-game series against the Chicago White Sox. First pitch for Game 1 is set for 6:40 this evening. Pack your bags. Silver State Sports Live is hitting the road once again this coming Tuesday, the 21st, prior to the Raiders draft night. Mike and I are setting up shop at Las Vegas Ballpark ahead of the Aviators taking on Salt Lake in a game you can catch right here on Triple SEN. The Big Dog, Aviators manager Fran Reardon, will join the show to help us get set for first pitch. Be sure to tune in at 2 p.m. All right, to the hardwood. The Aces begin training camp on Sunday, and it will be the first time all the pieces of this new roster will be on the court together. The Aces have returned 90% of their scoring power from the 2025 championship team. In addition to those staple returners, Vegas has brought in some key support in Brianna Turner, Stephanie Talbot, and Kennedy Carter. Training camp will run through the entirety of next week, capped off by a preseason game against the Japan national team. Over to the Runnin' Rebels now. Josh Pastner has picked up a guard in the portal. Sophomore Cam Miles heads to Vegas after spending his freshman season at Florida State, where he appeared in 25 games, averaging almost 14 minutes a game. Miles averaged just 5.5 points per game, shooting 36% from the field, 21% from three. He's described by head coach Josh Pastner as someone who has great speed and plays fast and, quote, really fits the way we want to play. Coming up, A'ja Wilson finally got her bag and the praise from her boo to match. Hear Bam Adebayo's comments on his superstar girlfriend making history once again in the W.
You're watching Silver State Sports Live.
Bam Adebayo and A'ja Wilson, the real-life embodiment of love and basketball. The two of them have been extremely vocal about training together, supporting one another. It wasn't long ago A'ja was in attendance watching her man drop 83 points on the Wizards, and now Bam has given his girl her flowers after making history with the biggest WNBA contract. 3 years, $5 million. Here's what the Heat big man had to say.
It's about time. They've been fighting for this for a long time, so for them to have that opportunity to obviously get Supermax, and it has the M at the end, you see how much the game is growing, you see how much their game is growing, how much attention it is surrounded about their game. I mean, how much attention it is surrounded by that person, to where they move the needle that much, to where those contracts look like that, and I'm happy it's only going up from there.
We love a supportive king. I'm sure we'll see him courtside at Michelob Ultra Arena quite a bit this summer to see A'ja and the Aces in action. That season less than a month away at this point, just a few weeks away. Can't wait for that one. But you guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see you next week.